Stuff, all right? What is that noise?
It is
Landon.
No, sorry.
That's all right. How'd you know it was Landon?
because I looked back.
Oh. Okay. If you have a square with a side that's x, how could you find the perimeter of the square? Okay, x times 4, because there's 4 sides. Or so how could we write that using y and x?
Y equals 4x.
Y equals 4x. Very good. Okay. And then we're going to plug in these numbers and fill out the table. So plug in 3. If the side is equal to 3, 4 times 3 would be, okay. Plug in 7.5.
30.
And
38.
9.5 times 4 is 38. Okay. Now, here they give you a rectangle and they tell you the area, but you don't know the sides. How do you find the area of a rectangle, though? Length times width. So we could write the length is how much? X times
4.
equals 60. Because the area is 60. So what could X and Y be? Like, what is two numbers that would work here? The length could be
15.
15 and then the width
4.
4. Or what else? Huh?
30.
30 and 2, 5 and 12, 6 and 10. Okay. Or even decimals in between. Okay, so now we want to get y by itself here. How do you get y by itself? Divide by x. Okay. So y equals 60 over x. So that is like the function we did yesterday. So rational, or what's the other word we talked about today? Inverse. Okay, so then if you plug 4 in for x,
50.
the length is 4 and the width is 15. Okay, plug 8 in
7.5.
and 12 in.
5.
Hey, Clark. All right, so the next one is similar triangles. We can write a proportion. A man 5 feet tall casts a 3-foot shadow. At the same time of day, a tree y feet tall casts an x foot shadow. But what proportion could we write with those two triangles?
5 over 3 is the same as 1 over
Good. 5 over 3 equals y over x. Okay. So now we want to get y by itself. How can we do that? Multiply by x, or what did we do yesterday? Do you remember? Cross multiply? Let's do that. So we get 5 times x is 5x, and that equals 3y. Divide by 3. And so y is going to equal
5 over 3x.
5 over 3x, or 5/3 x. Okay. Right, so if the shadow is 4.5 feet long, then how tall is the tree?
4.
Anybody do it? Calculator. You would plug in,
7.5.
you'd plug in 5/3 times 4.5, right? Okay. 7.5. And then 5/3 times 9 would be
15. Or you get 15.
15. Then 5/3 times 10.5.
17.5.
Okay, then this is like what we did yesterday with the mirror. And we wrote a proportion, and they're saying the person is 60 inches tall. So let's put 60 over here. And the mirror is 30 inches from the wall. And so what proportion could we write on this one?
So y over 30.
Equals 60 over x. Y over 30 equals 60 over x. Okay, then once again we're going to cross multiply, so you get y times x, or yx equals 1800.
Divide by x.
So y equals 1800 over x. And then we plug 20 in,
90.
plug 40 in, and 60 in.
30.
Okay, 2 more, and then we're going to examine these draw some conclusions about them. We're going to take a bus, rent a bus. For X people to travel, the cost of Y in dollars for renting a bus at $7.50 per person. Okay.
Y equals 7.50.
Okay. And Y is the cost of renting the bus, and X stands for what?
People.
The number of people renting the bus. Okay, so if 10 people rent the bus,
It's $75.
it'll cost $75. It is. If 25 people rent the bus, $187.50. Okay, and then if 30 people rent the bus, $225. Okay, now this is a little different. It says the bus will cost $180, no matter how many people ride it. So what we're going to figure out is how much it'll cost per person. So if X people ride, how much will it cost per person? How would you
So 180.
divide by X? Okay, so Y equals 180 divided by X? Okay. And so 4 people ride, how much is it going to cost per person?
45.
$45 a person. That's
Go to the other bus.
a lot. Yeah, I'd go with the other best too. If 8 people ride, 180 divided by 8, $22.50 per person. If 12 people ride, $15 per person. Okay, now we're going to look at what these problems have in common. Okay. The odd problems, all the ones on the left, the 3 problems on the left-hand side, 1, 3, and 5, their tables are similar. What is happening with X in the table?
X is increasing.
In every one of them, isn't it? Getting bigger, increasing. What is Y doing?
Increasing.
Y increases in this one, it increases in that one, and the one on the back. Okay, so if X increases, Y increases. Okay, then on the even problems, 2, 4, and 6, what is X doing? Increasing, but what is Y doing now? It starts out here 45, 22, 15, and it decreases on these two, 15, 7.55, 90, 45, 30. So, in this one, if X increases, Y decreases. Okay, now we're going to look and see that X have a constant, X and Y have a constant ratio or rate. We're going to see where we get that from. Okay, what they mean is if you look at
2
the,
to 15.
huh? Say that again.
Is it 2 to 15 for ratio?
Well, the ratio is actually this right here, this number, 7 point. The number in front of the X is going to be your ratio. But the way you get this ratio is you do Y divided by X, so it's 75 divided by 10. 750. And 187.50 divided by 25 is 750. And this Y divided by this X is 750. Anytime you divide the Y by the X, you get the same number, and that's the ratio. Okay. And then over here, X and Y have a constant product. What is a product?
Where you multiply.
Where you multiply. And it's the answer to a multiplication. Okay? So that means when you multiply X and Y, you get the same number. So 45 times 4 is 180. And 2250 times 8 is 180. Okay? And 15 times 12 is 180. All right, now the equations that go with these are just like this, but we have something called a K. So this one is going to be Y equals KX. Okay, and K is called the constant. K is the constant of variation, and sometimes it's called the constant of proportionality. So what do you think this equation would be over here?
Y equals K over X.
K over X, that's right. Okay, then the name for this function is direct variation. And you have to know that when it says it varies directly, that you use this equation. So we think about that X is directly across from Y. X varies directly as Y, because as X goes up, Y is going to go up, right? Okay. This one is called inverse variation. Because the X is inverted, it's in the bottom. Okay, and in this case, as X increases, Y is going to decrease. Because as X gets bigger down here, this entire number gets smaller. Okay, okay, and here's a sample of what you're going to be doing. Okay, if Y varies directly as X, and Y equals 12 when X equals 8, then what is Y when X equals 24? Okay, so we are going to start with this equation, Y equals KX, because that's the direct variation equation. And I know that you can do this a different way. You can set up a proportion and work this, but you can't do that for inverse. Okay, so we're going to learn how to do it this way for both. Plus, a lot of questions will ask you what's the constant of proportionality or what's the constant of variation. So you have to be able to find the K. Right, so when we're going to look at this first part, when Y equals 12, X equals 8. So we could plug 12 in for Y and 8 in for X and then find the K. How would you find the K?
Divided by 8. And K equals 1.5.
Okay, 12 divided by 8 is 1.5. So this is our constant of variation. So now we can rewrite this equation with Y equals, and in place of the K, we're going to put
1.5.
X. Now we have an equation that we can put in any X and find Y. Okay. And so we're going to plug in, it says what is Y when X is 24? So we'll plug in 24 where?
X.
For X. So Y equals 1.5 times 24?
36. Y equals
36. So direct variation, use Y equals KX. This one is going to be as Y varies inversely as X. Uh-huh. It is. Have y'all done any of this in chemistry or?
No.
Okay. I know they did a little bit.
We're working
Physics.
on moles right now.
Oh, fun. I like moles. They've got some math in it.
A lot of them.
Yes. Okay, Y varies inversely as X. We're going to use Y equals which one?
K over X.
K over X, okay. And then it says when Y is 12, X is 8. So we can plug in 12 for Y, 8 for X, and find the K. But how will we get rid of the 8 then? Okay, multiply both sides by 8. That, these 8's cancel. 96?
Yes.
8 times 12 is 96. Okay, then we're going to plug that 96 in for K, because now we know what K is. So Y equals 96 over X. That's our new equation. Okay. And then we're plugging in for X. What are we going to put in there?
24.
Right, because what is Y when X is 24? So we'll plug in 24 for X.
4.
96 divided by 24 is 4. So you get a very different answer when it's inversely, because these were the same numbers. Okay, but that one was direct and that one was inverse. Okay, let's look at, whoops, can't look at that. We're doing that other one tomorrow. The next one. All right, on the tables, we looked at the other tables, didn't we? And if if X increased and Y increased, what was that
Direct.
possibly? It would possibly be direct, but then you have to check. Okay, is there one that does that where Y increases and X increases and Y increases? All across here.
Or-
I think 4 is the only one that does that, isn't it? Okay, so this could be direct, but we need to check, right? If, on the direct one, it has a common ratio. So you have to check this 13 divided by 2 equals what?
6.5.
Okay. And then 32.5 divided by 5.
6.5.
And 65 divided by 10.
6.5.
Okay, and then so if they all have the same ratio, 6.5, then it is direct. Now let's check one of these. These all the X increases, Y decreases, right?
So you have to divide it.
No, you do the opposite. You have to multiply them. So let's look at number 1. What's 4 times 110?
440.
And 5 times 88? 8 times 55? So this one would be
Inverse.
inverse. Now, if they weren't the same ratio or the same product, then it would be neither inverse or direct. Okay, so you're going to check these two in a minute and see if they're all these ones these can be is inverse, right? So you'll check to see if they're inverse or not. And then number 5 and 6, all the rest of these are like the examples we did in your notes. Okay. So on number 5 where it says varies directly, you may want to circle which ones they ask you there. What equation will you use for varies directly? Y equals kx. Okay. And for the inverse one, you're going to use y equals
Okay, over.
k over x. Okay, yeah, and I want y'all to stop and look on the back. On the back are some these are the kind of problems you're actually seeing on the test. Okay. The time t it takes for Omar to drive the distance d to his grandmother's house is inversely proportional to his average rate of speed r. It takes Omar 2.5 hours to get to his grandmother's house if he drives an average speed of 30 miles an hour. Okay, how long will it take him if he drives at an average speed of 50 miles an hour? Yeah. It's a little harder when it's in a word problem, but we still use, for inverse, what do you use?
K or y equals
K over x. Okay. And it takes him 2.5 hours to get to his grandmother's house if he drives at a speed of 30 miles an hour.
So y equals 2.5.
Equals K over,
30.
okay. And then how do you find K?
Multiplied by 30.
Multiply by 30. 30 times 2.5 is,
75.
okay, then once you know what K is, then we'll plug it back into the y equals K over x. So you have y equals 75 over x. Then how long will it take him if he drives at an average speed of 50 miles an hour?
1.5 hours.
So 75 divided by 50 equals 1.5.
Yes.
And so the answer is
B.
B.